the change for the companies. If you look at the data volumes that we are expecting to see, we see massive growth of data. 50 zettabytes expected, and then if you look at the variety of the data, we expect mostly unstructured data coming into the systems. So you can simply forget about the tables, columns, indexes, and you need to think about how am I going to integrate all this unstructured data into my systems? And how am I going to make it available for the business to run their daily business in an optimized way? There comes the analytics into the picture as well. Okay? So cloud is playing a big game here. The cloud game here is not about storing the data. It's more about storing the data and ability to analyze the data. And all this ability comes from the new tools, new technologies, including hardware and software like Python or R or GPU on the hardware side. So this is transforming the businesses right now, and IoT is a big part of it. This is an important slide as well. This might not be very interesting for you, but you need to understand this. There is something called S&P 500 index. How many of you know that? Nobody. That's good. So that's a learning today. S&P, Standard & Poor's, defines the top 500 companies every year. Okay? Worldwide top 500 companies. In 1920, when you go into the S&P 500 index, listed in that list, you stay there 67 years. Okay, so you are a big company and you are going to stay as a big company for 67 years. When we come back to 1980, that has been reduced to 25, and 2010, it's 15 years. And 2020, it's expected to be 10 years. How does this happen? Right? Globalization. The data that you can process, how you optimize your processes, and the most important part, how innovative you are. Right? You don't agree, but it is. Companies are changing how they are working. Facebook, Google was not existing there, right? And they are now. Uber. Who is the biggest retailer in the world? Alibaba. And how many stores does they have? 0. The biggest taxi company in the world is Uber. They don't have any taxis, any cars. This is how the businesses are changing. You need to find those disruptive things. Okay? We need to drive with data. We need to come up with ideas and integrate it with our data. If you're an existing company, this is very important to know and realize that data and the integration of the data decision-making processes into your daily business will make the difference for your businesses. That's why we need to be careful here. You cannot just rely on and say, hey, I'm in this index and I'm going to stay there forever. It's not going to happen. So every company right now in the world, Microsoft, Uber, Amazon, should continue innovation. Otherwise, we will go away quickly. Okay? What does it look like? What does these companies do? How does it do that? It's very important to understand that most of those companies who has been successful in their existing business are implementing these new technologies into their business processes. Now, just this week, I had 16 different customer meetings. Okay? This is my 6th day on the road. And what I had talked with different companies, predictive maintenance. How am I gonna predict if my production line will stop or slow down? What can I offer personalized, something personalized to my customer for the airlines? And when you look at all these things that the companies are trying to achieve, it's all data and it's all analytics related. It's not about ERP. It's not about collecting the data. It's not even about data warehouses and reporting. That's totally different thing that the companies is trying to integrate. And we easily realize that we are all customers here, right, at the moment. And which company do you choose to travel from one place to another? If you want to go to Prague tomorrow, how will you decide which company you are going to choose? Think about two companies, okay? Both of them low price. One of them comes to you saying that, hey, I realize that you are trying to fly to Prague, and here is the interesting list for you to enjoy yourself in next 2 days. Museums, theaters, places to visit, or the exhibitions going on in Prague. And the other one just says, hey, here is your ticket. This is a big difference. And this is what companies are trying to do. And this is, as the consumers, what we are looking for, right? So this is how companies are changing, how to interact with the customers and the consumers. And you need to collect a lot of data for that. Okay, IoT is a big part of it. It's not just for the industry, for manufacturing industries. It's for everywhere. I'm collecting information using the IoT technologies from mobile phones. I have customers using IoT to manage their data center. Right? If you go to data center, you can find a lot of servers running there. Most of the case, if you ask a data center manager, he can have very hard time to show you what a specific server does. How much CPU does it use? What's the process running on that? He will not be able to say it to you. But we can monitor all that information from the data center with the IoT. So you can have a 360-degree view of your data center, what's going on, which server is doing what, how much memory is it using, how much CPU is being used. If you look at all these things, how to implement an IoT? Have you ever tried to implement an IoT project? Good. So what is the biggest challenge? What is the biggest problem to implementing an IoT project? Infrastructure? Devices? Hardware and the cloud. Okay, what else? Customers. That's an interesting point. That's my challenge. So, the biggest problem used to be the hardware, which can be connected. Now, in last 2 years, we are overcoming that problem, and hardware is getting cheaper and cheaper. It's still expensive for testing purposes, but when you start moving into production with a bulk amount of hardware, it gets quite cheap. And there are a lot of hardware right now in the market, which is Azure IoT certified. It's certified for Azure IoT. So you can find them in the devices portfolio of Microsoft. We all have it. Connectivity. Do you know about the connectivity technology for IoT? Communication. IoT Hub is just a piece of software there. Before we come to there, we need to have connectivity to IoT Hub. How? Internet. What else? MQTT is a protocol, right? Okay. Internet. Okay, let me ask you a question then. We are in Minsk. Is Minsk totally covered by free internet? No. Okay, then how we are going to communicate all these devices to internet? Okay, let me tell you. There are three main connectivity technologies in the world for IoT connectivity. Sigfox. Have you ever heard about it? You should. Okay? These three technologies is you need to be aware today, because those are the connectivity technologies that's going to drive all those connected devices. Sigfox, LoRa, nobody knows. NB-IoT, narrowband IoT, nobody knows, okay. So Sigfox, let me give you a kind of a lecture here. Sigfox is a European country from France, a company from France. It's the second fastest growing startup company in Europe. And what they provide is wide area connectivity for a very cheap connection price. And most of those hardwares comes with Sigfox and LoRa connectivity by default. It's kind of a GSM connectivity but IoT, because you don't need that wide bandwidth in IoT. The messages are small, quite small to send. The other one is the GSM operators. Narrowband IoT is mostly driven by the GSM operators. Okay? It's kind of using the GSM network, mobile base stations. It uses a small part of it, very small part of it, just to deliver small messages from one point to another. That's called narrowband IoT. And the GSM operators heavily investing into these technologies. Okay? If they are not a mobile operator, they either work with Sigfox or LoRa. If they are a mobile operator, they are investing into narrowband IoT connectivity. So, we are living in a mobile world, mobile first, cloud first world. Okay. So there are a lot of things that we can do. So we are all thinking about all these three or six pillars. The biggest thing that I realized is even that mobile first and cloud first world is changing into intelligent cloud and intelligent edge. How many of you heard about intelligent edge? Good, 2. We are getting better. Anybody else? No. Okay. Intelligent edge, let me give you an idea. I have a customer having an image sensor, photo taking sensor in their production line. How many photos can be taken in a second in the production line? Good. 20,000 pictures are taken at a time. Okay? We are talking about cloud. Fantastic. Everything is great. How are you going to move all those 20,000 pictures to cloud? Through IoT, or thinking about a fast-speed fiber optic internet connectivity, process them, and figure out an anomaly in the production line. It's hard. It's difficult. So what we are doing is basically in Microsoft is investing into how to bring all those IoT-based processing capabilities down into the edge. Edge is a kind of a server, a laptop, or something like that, that uses the same technologies from the cloud on the local device, so that we can eliminate all those connection issues, connection latency, and give you the same capabilities as if we give it in the cloud. So we use Docker, we use that Dockerization technology to push all those Azure Stream Analytics, Azure IoT Hub, or Azure Functions, or Azure ML components that you built in Azure down to the server. Okay, this is Edge. Have a look at it. It's very interesting. It's coming, it's the, next generation of the computing and the cloud services. So, what is IoT? What do you need? Okay, I'm not going to ask this because we are time constrained here. So I'm going to speed up. And there are 3 things that you need to know. You need to have things, okay, because it's Internet of Things. Whatever the thing is, you need to define. And then you need to collect data, create insights from that data, and take actions, okay? This part is important. Because I think most of you are focused on this part. How am I going to get the data? How am I going to write a cool code on that? How am I going to run the most efficient analytics algorithm there? It doesn't make sense if you don't put it into a business purpose. Okay, you need to think about it. How am I going to add value to any of my customers? How am I going to integrate it with their business processes? It doesn't make sense otherwise. I have a huge technical background. I love doing something. You know, it's fantastic thing, you know, it's satisfaction. You build something, it's like your baby, but you need to create a business impact. You need to sell it, or you need to give it somebody who can sell it, or reduce the cost. So that's the important part. So these are some numbers. I think this is important, and this is what you need to think very carefully. Why IoT is important? It's because of this. 30 billion devices is expected to be internet connected by 2020. 30 billion devices. Now we think about, right, you know, apps on mobile and everything. How many people are living in the world? 7 billion. Think about that, 5 billion of them has a mobile app. We are talking about 4 times, even more, bigger device connectivity here from the mobile. Okay, this is important. Why telecom operators are investing in the narrowband IoT? Because they realize that sooner or later, okay, they will lose their market for connectivity because these connection technologies will become so popular and this number of devices will be connected. So they need to figure out a way, a cheaper way of communication. And they're investing heavily into narrowband IoT connection technologies. That's the reason. On the other hand, I told you the action is important. Why is action is important? Because of this number. By 2020, we expect a market for $10 billion for process automation tools. Which means that you need to get the data, you need to analyze the data, you need to do something, and you need to put into a process automation tool in order to make an impact. And it's a $10 billion business. Okay? So these are important, and you need to be aware of this to develop the right solution. So we have customers, we have good customers already using our technology or providing solutions. So these are just the names. Maybe you know Rolls-Royce, Johnson Controls, ABB Schneider Electric, ThyssenKrupp Rockwell Automation, are just few of them that is globally known brands that using Microsoft IoT platform to for either their internal purposes or to sell to other customers. How to implement? This is the thing that in theory you need to know and you need to understand before you start an IoT project. So I'm going to skip this because this is here. First, how you are going to connect things. You need to find the devices. You need to understand what kind of devices needs to satisfy the customer. You need to understand the geography. For example, what kind of technology you are going to use. If you go to Western Europe is all covered by Sigfox or LoRa. Okay? You need to understand what customer is trying to achieve. If you are trying to do smart metering for gas, electricity, or water, most probably MB-IoT will not work. Because MB-IoT based on the stations and the connectivity for those is not good because those devices are under the ground, in the basement somewhere. and you need a coverage for that. Then you need to pick either Sigfox or LoRa. So you need to understand all these elements before you start thinking about the IoT project, or at the beginning of the IoT project. What kind of device I'm going to use, and how am I going to integrate it? The second thing is data. You're going to collect a lot of data. You need to make sure that you transform the data into a format that you can integrate it with the data coming from the ERP systems. Okay? If you are doing a predictive maintenance solution for a factory, it doesn't make any sense if you don't know if the customer has a spare order or not, or spare product to fix the production line or not. Or you should know if the production line will stop for 2 hours, what's going to be the impact of that to the orders has been given to the company. You need to inform your customers that your orders will be delayed, or you need to give them a discount, right? You need to optimize that process. It doesn't make sense without knowing how the business works. So you need to understand that. You need to build the necessary tools and necessary data structure in order to make these decisions better. And then actions. Okay? If you are a service organization, think about that. If you sell refrigerators, if you collect all this information where the fridge is, you need to have a service organization, and you need to have that service organization fully fledged with the new technology, knowing which customer they are going, what kind of refrigerator they have at home, is it close to the heating system or far away from the heating system, how to fix it. So this is a 360-degree operation. Of course, you should start from somewhere, but this should be the high-level view what you want to achieve. Okay? These 3 steps are really important. Connectivity, devices, data, the business processes, and how am I going to put into an action process. So, maybe you will like this more than anything other, because this is the architecture and the services. So, we have sensors which can directly connect to IoT hub right now. You don't need to do anything, you can just connect them to the IoT hub. In most cases, you need to have a field gateway. How many of you know what field gateway is? This is not an IoT group. You are just learning. Good. This is good. Think about the case that you go to a factory, and the factory has devices or the engines or the robots from 15 years old. They're still working. They do what they need to work, but you don't know how to connect them. Or they are connected locally. They don't have anything related to the internet. In that case, that's where the field gateway comes in. So these are the robots or the sensors in the factory. They are connected with old technologies, UDP, RS-232, these kind of things. You collect all those information into the field gateway, and then field gateway push all this data to the IoT hub. Okay? We have SDKs for device and the gateway that you can use to deploy any kind of application. Those SDKs work with different languages, Python, C#, or Java. So you can build your application on any language that you want, and then you send the messages to the IoT hub. IoT hub is your gateway to cloud. And then the important part comes into play, right? The data is already in the cloud. How am I going to analyze that? In general, we think about hot analytics, connect IoT hub into Azure Stream Analytics, get the data, and then combine multiple streams, push the data back to somewhere. Experience, let me share with you. If you go to a factory, never go to a factory and say, I'm going to do a remote monitoring solution for you with IoT. They will fire you up immediately from the door. You will never be able to go to the customer again. Do you know why? How many of you heard about something called SCADA? Good, we have 2 more. Because remote monitoring is not something new for any factory. It's there for 20 years. All the factory managers, all the line managers are using a technology called SCADA, Supervisory Control and Data Acquisition Platform, something like that. So all these devices at the back end are connected to a SCADA system. They can go and look at the monitor and see the temperature, how many products went through the production line, so what is the vibration, everything. So you need to be careful. Okay? IoT is a good thing, but if you go to a factory, never go there and say, I'm going to do a remote monitoring for you. Then, the tip here, what is the problem with the SCADA system? 1, okay. The second thing is, there is no single factory monitored with 1 single SCADA system. They are mostly more, 2, 3, 4, 5. I talked to a customer, they have 20. And they have no idea how to make them integrated. So, this can be the SCADA backend. Okay, so you can get the data from SCADA systems, correlate them in the IoT platform, and give the customer a 360-degree view of their production line in the factory. Okay, this is the idea. So you need to be careful, because those customers can be, okay, you came here to sell me anything, a new thing? Okay, I know this business better than you do. So this is the case. You need to be careful. And then, cold analytics is the most important part. Okay? This is what most of our customers don't do. Whenever I talk to any factory manager, they say, I want to analyze the data. They mostly delete the data. SCADA systems keep the data for roughly 30 days, and then they delete it, because it doesn't make any sense for keeping history. But it's valuable. Why it's valuable? Because of the changes in the market, because of the issues in the production line, you need to identify the patterns. So cloud is the right way, or is the right platform to get all the information from those customers before they delete it, put it somewhere, correlate multiple different SCADA systems data, and then analyze it to identify different patterns in the factory, and then give that as a feedback. So that's called cold analytics. Okay? Warm, we have time series insights. It's something cool. I'm going to show it in detail a little bit later. But the idea here is, all these analyses are good, all these managements and the thresholds are good, but we need to push them to somewhere. We need to make it visually good. We need to make it integrated to their business processes. So this is very important. Send a notification to somewhere. Make sure that the customers get it. Make sure that the service element, service staff on the way knows where they are going and what they are going to do. Okay? So it's not just saying that, hey, my refrigerator is not working. Wow, great. Okay, I'm going to a dark place. I know that it's not working. It's like, somebody just comes to you. How many of you started as a call center or help desk person in your career? I started like that. Guy comes to me and say, my computer is not working. Great, yeah? Okay. So what am I going to do? It's the same story, right? My refrigerator is not working. I don't know why it's from. You can know it with the IoT. That's the value. You can know what the problem is. Okay, did you get this idea? You know all these services, right? Okay, good. Oh, and the IoT projects could be very complicated. You need to think about different devices, sensors coming into the system, how to correlate all this data, time consuming to get started. This is really a pain that I have, challenging and scale over the time. Business priorities can change, and the ERP systems at the backend can change. That could be difficult, challenging, but this is why we are here. This is what we need to do. In Microsoft, we are just trying to make it easy. So we have either a customized solution or a software as a service offering. Do you know what is a software as a service offering from Microsoft for IoT? Do you know the name? We have it. You don't? Okay, here it is. It's called IoT Central. Okay? Oops, I went too much. So IoT Central is a web application which you can customize for your company with logos, with text, and all that information. You can connect a device using the website. You can immediately get the streaming data. You can get multiple streams of data, correlate them at the same time. You can create notification rules. Like, think about the data center, right? You have multiple servers, and you can just immediately say that if my server is running over 80% CPU for 1 hour, send me an email. Or if my server is 100% memory, send me an email, push a notification, write it to a database log. You can do all these kind of things. Okay? And this is just visually prepared system. You don't need to think about IoT Hub, Stream Analytics, or notification hubs. It's already there. It's called IoT Central, Microsoft IoT Central. Go and check it. It's very easy to start a POC project. Very quick. Immediately give your customers a view of the business, and then you need to think about the next step, how we are going to make ERP systems integrated with this, or should we go to another line of customize it. So this is a good way to start. Okay. How many of you know IoT Suite? Oh my God, Okay, there is something called Azure IoT Suite. And the IoT Suite has all these components that I showed you. Device management and integration, data ingestion, command and control. How many of you know what's the difference between IoT Hub and Event Hubs? IoT Hub, you know, right? No? Okay. Event Hubs, you know. What is the difference? Great.
IoT Hub manages connectivity of device.
Okay. So the magic difference, the biggest difference is two-way communication. Okay? So IoT Hub has a two-way communication between the device and the IoT platform. Event Hubs is a single-way communication. Just get the messages. Okay? So if you want to turn off the lights, you need to use IoT Hub. And the second important piece is security. IoT Hub enforces TLS, transport layer security, by default. You cannot turn it on, turn it off. So the message is secured, or the connectivity is totally secured. Do you know why? Because it's the device which you can command and control. We need to be careful about it. Think about that you control the grid, electricity grid of a country, right? You can get hacked if the transportation is open, if you know the key is going on, everything. That's what we need to make sure. IoT is something serious, and you cannot compromise security for anything else. So that's why IoT Hub is the core part of this. If you want to have either for any other services, security enabled, it's IoT Hub. So we have data ingestion, command and control, stream processing and predictive analytics, dashboard visualizations, and maybe you will love this, pre-configured solutions. So there's something called AzureIoTSuite.com. This is a website. You go there. If you have a subscription, you can just click on the new, and this is what you get. Okay? We have templates for remote monitoring, for connected factory, which uses OPC UA. We have predictive maintenance templates ready. When you select this, it asks you the project name, your subscription, that's all. You click deploy, and it deploys all those customizable components, IoT Hub, Stream Analytics, if it's predictive maintenance, Azure Machine Learning, web apps, storage, and also the website for the dashboarding. It's prepackaged template. You can deploy quickly, you can start playing quickly, and you can customize. Because it goes, all these services goes into your subscription. So you can go and configure them manually as well. Okay? Just be aware, we have these templates ready. You can start it immediately. So this is the security. We also provide X509 kind of certification that you can put in on the TLS-based handshake. Time series insights. I'm sure you don't know anything about time series insights, right? Okay, so you need to know. This is a cool thing. So, either you have streaming data or existing data, okay? Time series data, like sales, like orders coming into the system, like my production line information. You can put this data into a graphical interface with few clicks, like this. You can see multiple streams of data coming into the same place, and you can analyze the correlation of that. You can see peaks, bottoms, you can see the trend, you can just drill down to the peak or the bottom. You can see average for, for example, if you want to control, if you get the retail stores, you can see it on the company level, you can drill down to the product level. So it's quite nice to give you a view of things happening over the time. And this is now integrated with the Stream Analytics and the IoT Hub. So you can get the streaming data and visualize it here immediately. A good quick start point to see what's going on and what's the anomalies in the system. Why do we have it? Few reasons. First of all, there are multiple silos of data, different places which customers cannot really analyze, or these are independent and you need to put them together to see how the impact of those. This is for stream time series insights. You don't need to have coding skills and everything. Just put it there and you can immediately get the results. And you don't need technical background to do that. No coding required, nothing. So you can immediately show something to your customers and sell the solution that you have. Either it's IoT or either it's a normal data analysis for time series data. Here are some screenshots. Okay, you can see how many different streams there. Either one of them is from temperature, the other one is for the humidity, so you can see the different correlations. You can see that in a graphical way like this. You know, you can see the bottoms and for example, that green line over there. Why is it so different than the others? You can immediately go and see that visually, which you can never see that in Excel or in the data itself. You can compare multiple streams like this. So we have a trend here when this starts go up and this goes up as well, and then it goes down. So why does this happen, or why is this, we have a problem here? You can just see that. And you can also see that in a heat map. So you can put all this data here and then just see the red dots here and then drill down to those red dots to understand what's wrong going on. And these are all the visualizations that we put into time series analytics. You can start with few clicks and start analyzing the data. Okay, I think this is the last one. You know, I understand that you are new to IoT, okay? it's good that I didn't give you a lot of detailed information about, the technology, where the technology is. But you need to understand, I think, few things. How much time do we have? Okay. So I think it's important to understand few things. One, Microsoft is the biggest IoT player right now. The biggest IoT platform provider with all necessary security, scalability, visualization tools in place. The second thing is we are working heavily to come up with new templates. Remote monitoring, predictive maintenance, connected factory, and the others are on the way. So we are trying to make a start of an IoT project easy. We are providing a 360-degree view of a factory, connected systems, and get the data from the backend systems which exist right now for monitoring the production lines. It's very important to know. For the regulated businesses or for the high-speed analysis needed, we have IoT edge solution. So which means that if a company, for a regulated company like oil and gas wants to do IoT, but they cannot move the data outside of the country, they can still use Azure and deploy IoT edge on premises. This is a unique offering from Microsoft. And this is where most of our customers can go, especially in government and some of these regulated businesses. So have a look at it. Have a look at these resources. There are great information there. Look at the connectivity, check the connectivity part. Try to educate yourself on the new technologies like Sigfox, LoRa, or MBIoT. These are the new things that you will connect that 30 billion devices to IoT system. Okay? Thank you. Any questions? I would appreciate.
Thank you. Hello, and thank you for your presentation. You have one of the major slides with the architecture overview, and there was a gate, sorry, on the left side. So can this gateway be considered an edge server or not?
That gateway?
Yes.
You mean, okay, let's go to the slide.
Yeah.
You mean this one, right?
Field gateway, right?
This field gateway. Yeah, it can be.
Okay.
If it supports Docker, okay, then we can push the Docker images to there. This is how it works. If it supports Dockerization, yes. Or, it's not a big problem to put an edge device in between here, do all the configuration in the cloud, all the architecture, all the components together in the cloud, and then push it to here, in between, and then this field gateway, a backend system for anything, can communicate to this edge device here. You might face a lot of challenges to make this as an edge device, because this can be a black box from any provider, okay?
Okay.
But if this is something that you configured, yes, it can be, but it requires Docker.
Okay, and the other question that I have is about the security for the device connection. Do you know, as you have shown, they are using the public key infrastructure for the security, and can a device actually support a client certificate requirement or not?
On an edge device?
No, the device itself.
A client certificate?
Yeah.
I think it does, but I need to check. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Okay, because we support some certificates and all that stuff. You know, my technical counterpart knows these details, but if you drop me an email, we can respond back.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
Thank you for your presentation, but I want to ask a question. As you understood, most of listeners are new to IoT. And maybe you can give us an advice what to start with, maybe some device to play with to make something at home to understand if we like it or not like it and so on.
Okay, so we have IoT trainings, and in the IoT training what we do is simply one thing. We write a C# code on the PC which reads the memory or the CPU usage every second, and then we push it to the cloud. Okay, this is how we teach or how we show our customers and partners how to connect, because you need to do everything in this architecture. Okay, you need to make sure that IoT hub connects to the sensor or the device, which is your laptop, because you need to have that security key, connection string, all that stuff coming from the IoT hub. You need to connect stream analytics with the IoT hub, and then we put storage to write the data coming from the IoT hub, basically the processor information, and then we push it into Power BI in real time. So we have all this document ready. We can share it with you. You can just go through that step by step and start playing with that. It's not different than any sensor. It's the same thing. The difference might be, okay? How many of you have a smartwatch here? One person, great. So how can you connect your smartwatch to IoT hub?
I don't know, maybe it is connected to Bluetooth to my device, to my mobile device, and then I maybe can connect my mobile device to IoT hub.
But there is one more thing that you need to do. You need to write a small application which reads the Bluetooth port and gets this data from your watch and sends it to the cloud, right? That's the part. So if you have another sensor here, for example, which you will get data, then you need to understand here that you need to write a piece of code to read the serial port, to read the Bluetooth port, or to listen at TCP/IP port, to get the messages and then send it to cloud gateway. In our example, what we do is we just use this part, we get the processor information, processor usage, and then send it. Okay? That processor usage getting part needs to be replaced by listening those ports to get the messages from the devices. That's all you need to do. The rest is the same. So we can share it with you. Just drop me an email.
Yes, thank you. And one additional question appeared. So if I have a device that is not Azure IOT certified, I have to write some interface code to push the data from device to...
In that case, you don't need to write anything. You just need to put your connection string, the device ID, into the device, and then they communicate directly.
Thank you.
Question? Good.
First of all, thank you for your presentation. And I want to clarify the difference between edge and the cloud. So in the edge, you can use the same, for example, Azure tools in a local device, for example, yeah?
Yeah, similar to that. So think about the case that here, okay, from this part to this part, we need an internet connectivity, right? A kind of. It could be wide range area, it could be GSM, it could be narrowband IoT, whatever it is. So we need a connectivity here. What we do in edge is actually, and the problem here is there's a delay on this connectivity, right? So if your business process is not satisfied with 2 seconds, 3 seconds of delay to visualize the data, to understand, to take actions, we put all these processing into the edge device here. So it's going to be in your local network, which is milliseconds of getting the data and making decision versus few seconds. So this is the value.
All right, thank you.
Okay. There are three more.
So here's my question. What kind of specialists usually IoT team consists of? I mean, does it require some data science engineers? Does it require low-level engineers that know how to tweak and tune all these edge devices? And how large that team usually
This is a good question. So this is a very good question, to be honest. So first of all, getting the data from this part to this part is something easy. You might need a, normal developer who can write a Java code, who can have a high-level understanding of how this networking works. Not in detail, but high level, how to read a Bluetooth port, how to serialize the message, all this stuff. So, and then the IoT hub connectivity is relatively simple. And the stream analytics are relatively simple. Most of the people can do that, right? The biggest problem here is if you are running into a kind of predictive maintenance thing, is the data scientist part. So you need to have somebody who understands the data coming from those systems, who knows what a field means, who knows what a value means, what should be the highest threshold or what should be the lowest value. Understanding the data, and should be somebody who can really put different sensors data into one single data set, create an analytical data set to run algorithms on top of that. So the algorithms can be different. It could be any algorithm to do anomaly detection, or it could be anything for classification, it could be anything for regression. So you need to know how to build a model, compare different model outcomes, pick the right one, and then make it operational, integrated with stream analytics or Spark cluster, all that stuff. So that requires a data scientist. Okay? And the most important part, you need to also have a kind of project owner for an IoT project. Somebody from the top of the company should say that we are going to do this, we are going to put all this information into our processes in order to make a change in the business process. Okay, so data scientist, an engineer here, somebody who knows what the data means, what are the thresholds should look like, are important.
Thank you.
As far as I can understand, all industrial automation systems work in real time. So there are a few levels of industrial automatization. So the low level makes all decisions, and the high level only for visualization. So if your system works in real time, it guarantees the times of response, or it's just for visualization?
It does. It does work in real time.
Yes. And what about connectivity if you lose connection or something like that?
So that's why we have Edge.
I see. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks one more time for presentation. So one of the reasons why we choose cloud is easy way to achieve availability. Does Edge support the same options out of the box to achieve it at, I believe, our infrastructure, not cloud infrastructure?
Yes, it does. The problem is if your server fails, then you might have an issue. But other than that, for the soft layer, yes, it does. Okay. And you need to realize one thing, that the use cases are a little bit different for Edge and the IoT in the cloud. IoT Edge versus IoT in the cloud. The use cases are a little bit different. And the difference comes from basically, I don't want to move my data to cloud. I take the risk that my server fails. That's okay. So the customer should be aware of these kind of things as well. But I'm going to do the monitoring. So I can justify maybe if my server fails down for 3-4 hours, that's not a problem. But I want to have the rest of the time monitoring the system, and I don't want the data to go out. And I also maybe want millisecond response time versus few seconds response time. So the use cases are a little bit different, but you know, you can configure that.
So I can have just several instances.
Yeah, multiple Docker images.
Thank you for your presentation. I want to ask the question how to sold this technology to my customer, and my customer.
That's my challenge. You know, if you find a way, tell me.
My customer in Belarus. Belarus haven't any data centers of Microsoft. For
Yeah.
example, yes. How
None of my countries has a Microsoft data center. Yeah.
My customer very thinks that very important to send those messages as fast as possible.
Yeah.
And
You need to define what fast is here, but you know, okay.
He's very carry a time of delay of when message will be sent and message will be received by.
Yeah.
For example, in different point of the world, what is average delay of this time? Because it is important when we think about real-time systems.
Yeah, I do understand. So, so again, we need to define what is fast here, okay? How fast is it? So the thing here is, for example, we had a test for this computer CPU processing. So one of the things we put there is average. I want an average of my CPU usage. So the average means you need to take some data and then take average, and then some data and take average, right? So this requires a different expectation on the timeline. Or if you say, show me whatever the value is at a time, that's a different thing. Because if you take average, for example, system waits for 15 seconds to collect all this data, they collect it real time, and then every 15 seconds, it draws a line. Okay, so this is different. If you want the exact value to come in, maybe it's a second.
For example, my point of my question is about something like this. We have a temperature sensor that many temperature sensors that is not so clever device. That device can't think about time.
Yeah.
That device thinking just about temperature.
Yes.
In this case, very important for us to get information from all of those sensors and very precise set the time.
Yeah.
It is very important for long communication because communication can take so many time and our precise will very low.
Okay, that's a good point. So we basically, so in your case, if these are the temperature sensors, we can collect it in a gateway so they communicate real time. And this gateway immediately sends it to cloud. And this gateway puts a timestamp when this message arrives from a sensor. Okay? And then that timestamp comes to me. It's not my timestamp, it's your timestamp actually when you get the message from the temperature sensor. And then we can understand exact value for the temperature at the time of your system.
Usage of device SDK is need some payments.
No, nothing.
Good. Thank you much.
No, these are all these SDKs. You can find it in GitHub. Okay. Yeah, you're welcome.
So thank you, Jim, for this journey.
Yeah, thank you. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you get some idea about IoT. Thank you.
It's a present for you, and now you need to choose someone. Question. Yeah, question. Okay. Okay.